be grateful for it to me if ever he discovers what his own true self is. That is the famous doctrine. And there is not a dictator who in years after Rousseau did not use this monstrous paradox in order to justify his behavior. From the Jacobins, Robespierre, Hitler, Mussolini, the communists all use this very same method of argument of saying men do not know what they truly want. By wanting it for them, by wanting it on their behalf, we really are giving them what, in some occult sense, without knowing it themselves, they want. In short, when I execute the criminal, when I bend human beings to my will, even when I torture them and I kill them, when I organize inquisitions, I am not merely doing something which is good for them, though that is dubious enough. I am doing that which they truly want, that they may deny it 1,000 times. If they deny it, it is because they do not know what they are, what they want, what the world is like. And therefore I speak for them, on their behalf. This is Rousseau's central doctrine, and this is a doctrine which leads to genuine servitude. And in this way, from this deification of the notion of absolute liberty, we gradually reach the notion of absolute despotism. There is no reason for human beings to have choices, to have alternatives, when only one alternative is the right alternative. Certainly they might choose it, because if they don't choose it, then they're not spontaneous, they're not free, they're not human beings. But if they don't choose it, if they choose the wrong alternative, it is because their true self is not at work. They do not know what their true self is, whereas I, who am wise, who am rational, who am the great benevolent legislator, I know. And Rousseau, who had democratic instincts, leant not so much in favor, not so much towards individual legislators as towards assemblies which, however, were only right to the extent to which they willed, to the extent to which they resolved to do that which reason inside all the members of the assembly, their true self, genuinely desired. It is for this doctrine that Rousseau lives. This is evil and the good that he did. The good in the sense that he stressed the fact that without freedom, without spontaneity, no society is worth having. That a society such as it is conceived by the utilitarians of the 18th century, in which a few experts or specialists organize life in a smooth and frictionless manner so as to endow the largest number of people with as much as happiness as possible, is repulsive to a human being who often prefers wild, unruly, spontaneous freedom, but provided it is he who acts, to even the maximal happiness, if that means that he is somehow worked into an artificial system, not by his own will, but by the will of some manager, of some arranger of society. The evil that Rousseau did consists in this mythology of the real self, in the name of which I can coerce people. No doubt all inquisitors and all religions justified their acts, which subsequently may have appeared to some people at any rate cruel and unjust, but at least they invoked supernatural sanctions for it. At least they invoked sanctions which reason was not allowed to question. Rousseau, who believes that this can be discovered by mere untrammeled human reason, by mere untrammeled observation of the actual nature, of actual three-dimensional nature, of nature in the sense in which it simply means objects in space, human beings, animals, and inanimate objects. Rousseau is the author of the monstrous paradox whereby liberty is a kind of slavery, whereby to want something is not to want it at all unless you want it in a certain special way, in which you can say to a man, you may think that you are free, you may think that you are happy, you may think that you want this or that, but I know better what you are, what you want, what will liberate you, and so forth. It is this monstrous paradox, according to which a man, in losing his political liberty and in losing his economic liberty, is in some way liberated in some higher, deeper, more rational, more natural sense, which only the dictator, or only the state, or only the assembly, only the authority knows, in which the most untrammeled freedom coincides with the most rigorous and enslaving authority. For that paradox, Rousseau is more responsible than any thinker who ever lived. The consequence of it in the 19th and 20th century I need not enlarge upon. They're still with us now. And in that sense, it is not paradoxical to say that Rousseau, who claims to have been the most ardent and passionate lover of human liberty who ever lived, who tried to throw off every shackle, the shackle of sophistication, of culture, of convention, of science, of art, of everything whatever, because all these things somehow impinged upon him, all these things in some way arrested his natural liberty as a man, that Rousseau, in spite of these things, was one of the most sinister and the most influential, the most sinister and the most formidable enemies of liberty in the whole history of modern thought.